turn to someone and says, God is good. He is good. And forever faithful. Hallelujah. Good God Almighty. You may be seated. I need to give birth to something here this morning. Hallelujah. As you know, we just 2 weeks ago we were back. Well, less than 2 weeks ago we were back from Cuba. And, one of the things that, so I really wanted, and then last Sunday you guys just was amazing, expressing your love and gratitude to the pastors in the house, and we are deeply humbled by that, and but even while that's going on, we're celebrating pastors, but we all know that this is the body of Christ as a whole, doing God's purpose, right? And so there's just a lot of things in my heart, and I knew that if I wrote them down, I'd be in trouble, because I know I pretty much got you for about an hour, So in light of our worship, it is so vital that we have that personal time with God. And that's why we've always, worship to us as a church is vital. It's because it unfolds God's heart and God's will in our lives. Amen? And so, I believe it also sets the stage, the heart, to be soft enough to hear what God has to say. Because sometimes God prunes. I said sometimes God prunes. Okay, that's about half of you now. Because sometimes God prunes. He's got to cut out some stuff, right? Anyway, that's not where I want to go. But it's true. And his presence really is a vital part of that. If the only time you experience this type of worship is on Sunday, then you're really missing out a lot on the rest of the 6 days of the week. Okay? So this sets the tone. And I love the fact, I really love the fact that the songs, all three songs were amazing. The last two songs, of course, really ties in to what God seeks to do in our lives. It was the second song was, Here I Am, Lord, gracefully broken. How many of you know that sometimes it's in our brokenness that we grow? Because when we're too comfortable, we're okay and we don't think we need help. But when stuff starts falling apart, that's when we say, okay, Lord. That's when we really say, okay, Lord, help me. When things happen that we weren't prepared for. And so it's amazing how, sometimes, again, brokenness has a place in our maturity, in our growth. And then we read about how God, he's a worker of miracles, but that's who God is. And I don't want you to ever forget that. But today I wanted to give you a glimpse as to our event over there, but there's a message in all of this. There's a message in all of this, and I'm going to blow through some things because I don't want to take too much time, because I could take a whole lot of time in all of this. But I want you to know, you were not there physically, but you were there prayerfully, you were there spiritually, and you were there financially. So you were there. Don't feel like, I'm missing out. No, not necessarily. Okay? But because without you, we could not have done what we did. And so, our trip was amazing. And it seems like every year, God just kind of really moves as he wills, and certain doors open and closes, and we didn't receive the religious visas. though they knew it was approved and it was in central office in Havana. But, you know, so we had to now buy, we already purchased religious visas. They already got our money. But coming in from Miami into Cuba, we had to purchase tourist visas, which is another $100, you know. But we trusted God, right? So anyway, just to give you a kind of a feel of what's going up and kind of want to update you, I think I have a responsibility to make sure I update you as to what we have been able to do there because of our obedience to God. Amen? So, I mean, we can't, this is, oh, okay. No, there's no video feed or audio feed on this, but this is when we touched down. It was 7 o'clock at night, and we are now going into customs, you know. And then this is the team. So the interesting thing is, right, after we go through customs, a lot of stuff happened, you know, because we didn't have our religious visas, which were approved, but we didn't have it on hand. That means everything we brought in there, kind of, they can charge taxes on, tariffs, right? So they were opening the Spanish, one of the musicians in the Spanish church donated a piano, or synthesizer, what do they call that? And a soundboard. So when they saw the soundboard, they took it all apart and even if it's used, whether it's new or used, you got to pay $400. And you know, something about Pastor Orlando that you're gonna find out. You know, he don't care where he's at. I said, dude, tone it down a little bit. But he goes, what? This is the church, you know. So anyway, they're going through all the baggage, and now I don't have religious visas, so we're bringing all this drugs. Bags and bags full of syringes. Yeah, you get the picture? You know? So, and all of a sudden, you know, word got out, you know, that, you know, we are religious visas, that we did get it, but that, you know, so the main, I guess the senior custom agent came and assured us, made sure that we went through easily. Actually, this guy was interrogating me before I went in, before I crossed, you know, to pick up the luggage. And she says, why are you holding this guy? I already told you he's a pastor, let him through. And I just kind of felt, yeah, Jesus. Yeah, Jesus. So and then we go out there, and all of a sudden, you know, Nydia, all quiet Nydia, her bag was flagged, Pastor Orlando's flag your bag was flagged too, Benny's flag, and Benny was nervous. He was nervous. He was saying, oh, Jesus. He knew who he trusted, but he was like, tell me what to say, Pastor. Tell me what to say. So anyway, we go through this thing, you know. So we get past that, and God, check this out. So the lady's tearing up into one of the bags. I'm the next one, because one of my bags were flagged as well. And then when they found out that we were Christian, she started putting all the stuff back in the bag, you know. Can you do me a favor? I believe in prayer. Can you pray for me and my husband? We're going through some really difficult times here. Nydia, what was her name? Sulema, you know, and I said, you got it. Amen. Good. Asked her name. She gave me her name. I said, and we prayed on her behalf and trust that God moved. But so anyway, finally we got cleared from all of that. We go outside and we're waiting for a ride. Oh yeah, we paid nothing. We didn't pay anything for all of the. So then we go out, and now transportation is an issue in Cuba, and in comes an armor truck. Yeah, and that's what you're looking at. I'm looking. This thing was like a truck. And guess what the driver's name was? You see that guy with the tie in the middle? His name was Rommel. Some of you don't even know Rommel. You know, General Rommel, the German tank general. You know, and he was driving a tank. So I found it interesting. I said, God-fearing man. His brother was God-fearing. That truck that you see, they built themselves. They fabricated that truck on their own. And so we just, it was interesting, and it was a rough ride. Because the roads there aren't pretty. So if I tell you that if there was anything loose in my body, now I'm in the front and I'm going like this. And then in the back, Betty says, yeah, I wish I was in the front. Try sitting in the back. So I said, nah, no thank you. But, we got there, amazing. And look at this. All fabricated, and it's just amazing. But, so you remember, I want to take you back a couple of years because I think back in about, I was doing some research. We first went to Cuba in obedience to God. He told me about it in 2011. And then, not 2012. I'm sorry, 2011. And then 2012 was our first trip there. And this is how we went. A couple of years later, we finally went to, I think after 2 trips, we went to Holguin, right? At the second trip. The first trip, we went to Holguin. And so we saw what God was doing over there. I remember because I said, I want to go. And the guy says, Pastor, it's a long way. And I have to rent the truck and it's going to cost a lot of money. And he told me, well, I said, well, how much is a lot of money? I says, well, in order to get there from Havana, it's a 12-hour drive to Holguin, and to get a bus the size that you need, it's going to run around $800. So I said, I was on a mission, and I felt that God was calling us there, and I said, I want to see the island. I want to see who I'm working with. I want to know, so let's make this happen. And they made it happen. So we went there on that first trip, and one of the churches that they showed us was this one, which is what do they call it? Santeria type of church. And in Cuba, the interesting thing, and some of you have heard this, but some of you haven't, but the interesting thing, in Cuba, it is illegal to build a church. If it is an existing church since the 60s, then that's grandfathered in, right? But this wasn't a real church. It was a Satanist church. We bought it. We got together with a couple of pastors, and they bought that property, that church, for $10,000. And then we started to kind of begin to invest in it. And so I want you to get a glimpse of it. And you see where that, I don't know if you see that area. There's a hole in there. There are already, because if you buy a property and you're not developing it, they take it over. So you got to show them that you're working in it. So they're working on pillars. That's what that hole is over there. So they already started to show some of the progress. If you see in the right-hand corner right here, see that's preparation for a pillar. Once they knocked all that down, but they wanted to make sure that they started it and all. This past March, this is what it looked like, right? So now you're talking about it took almost 5 years or more to get the process going, to get the right permits and everything, right? This was last March. This is it today. That's how it used to look in March. This is what it looks like now. You did that. So we can fit 300 people in there, and it's not finished. It's almost, the front is finished, right? But the back end, where the bathrooms are, there's an office back there, and then they started a second floor. In Cuba, you have to finish the job before you try to expand to further stuff. So right now we left sufficient money, and other churches as well, so that they can finish the top, so that then they can do a second floor, which will be more of a fellowship hall. It's like an awning over it, something solid but that it's open all around. You know, so that's the next project. Since now, some of y'all, none of the team that came with me saw these pictures yet. Since that, they bought fans, 16 fans. You know, with what we left them, right? So I mean, they had already put the electrical. They were just believing God, and this is just another aspect. Now look at this. About 2 years ago, Pastor Jimmy had an old Passat, and trust me, every time, bless you dear, every time he picked us up from the airport, he came in that little Passat, and let me tell you, I had to be a man of faith to get in that car. Because I came with my luggage, I'm ready to load, you know, and I noticed that the back tires don't even have brake drums. I said, dude, you know, I think you lost your brakes. And he goes, no, Pastor, that one is not working right now. I got to get the part. But all the other ones work. You know, right? I think the first time, I mean, when I got in that car and went to his house, I inhaled so much carbon monoxide that I tell you, I was nauseous. Remember, I had to open the window. I said, oh man, this is rough. But through the process, he fixed it. And this was his own personal Volkswagen Passat. And he put it together. He's fixing it, rebuilt the engine a little bit. Then they realized that, you know what? Now, he owns it, but now he's starting to utilize it as a taxi, which brings income so that he can be able to sustain his family and the church through that car. So they were looking to buy another one, and a businessman that went on a missionary trip there a couple of years ago, he said, listen, I got some money I can loan you. So in other words, this businessman has I guess, his retirement fund. So he took out $24,000. He says, I can give you this so that you can purchase a car, so that you can make money. Because their idea is, if we can purchase the car, right, we pay the driver, we pay a third for the driver, a third for maintenance to make sure the car stays good, and then a third goes into the church fund. And they're able to help with all of the necessities, right? So we believe, and again, we went there, there's a lot of needs there, but we believe that helping them get a car will further add to income so that they can continue to promote the gospel. This is how some of the pastors are building their churches. This is how they're, you know, plus all of the support that they're getting from the church here in the States. This is how they're looking to do that. So that's why we went, we knew the property was a tremendous investment. But if we would have purchased that property for $20,000, they wouldn't get income from that until everything got all settled. And so that was really a long term. And so we spoke, we prayed about it, you know, Orlando, myself. We liked the idea and it's a possibility, but right now there are greater needs, right? So I just wanted you to get the feel for that. So this guy loaned him the money, other churches invested in it, we invested it, and they just purchased this car. Totally rebuilt, doesn't need to get rebuilt. The other one that they were gonna buy for $40,000 needed to get rebuilt. Cars are crazy. This car is a 1992, right? Which what happens, the government rents them and then they sell them to their people. And that's the only way you can really get a car, or build it yourself. And they have tremendous fabricators over there. So this is an avenue that we help so that they can continue generating funds and building the kingdom over there. You had a part of that. And it came with an extra engine and a transmission. So we went there to really encourage pastors and their marriages, because we know the demands that will take. And so, you know, we did that. Pastor Lando focused on imparting wisdom concerning how important it is to get the members to become a part of what God is doing in the church. Because there's a lot of people that just, it's the same thing in America. You come, you sit down, you feed, but you don't get as involved as you should. If this is your church, there ought to be a sense of ownership and involvement in that church. So we ministered to that area as well. And then I ministered to pastors concerning the challenges of pastoring, what you need to focus on, about protecting the Spirit of God, the move of God in our midst. And, so we went there on a 3 strategic, I don't know what else to call it, attack, to strengthen those areas. So this is this is Pastor Cariel, amazing guy. He's from Las Tunas. He's a blessing. His wife. Oh, look at there, one of our own. They came there to minister, but look, it looks like they were ministering to themselves right here. That lady in the back is Pastor Olga, a sweetheart. This is Pastor Harold, the one that, if you remember, I showed you, he makes his livelihood through raising rabbits to be able to maintain and sustain his family. I don't have pictures, but somebody's got some pictures of the foundation that he already started in his church, So there's some beautiful things. This is oh goodness, Cadiel and his wife. That shirt I gave him last year. So when I came in and rolled up, he's playing worship, he go, you got that right, you're a Falcon fan. So this is Pastor Damis. He's going to be pastoring. Him and a couple other pastors will be at that church that we just finished that still has to do the back, that yellow one. He's going to be part of. That's his lovely wife. She's a doctor. In the background, you can see Pastor Hector and Pastor Sulema, who was here physically with us at one point. And this is Pastor Javier, his lovely wife Estelle. They're engaging. And there's some beautiful things and this is just a few of the pictures, but I want you to get the heart of what God is doing there. Look at this look. I don't know if I can do this. Look at that look. Obviously what he told her touched her, and they were just engaged in sharing. They still took some time for themselves. Sometimes ministry really, really swallows up all your time, and by the time you get home, you're so exhausted you forget that you have a spouse and kids that need you as well. And I know I haven't always been good at that, because I want to be faithful, I want to be there for the people, but sometimes time, you can only spread yourself but for so much. But they started sharing. That little card they're holding was one of the things, exercises that Norma, Ed, and Jalissa, Angelo, and Benny were sharing with them. By the way, shout out to Ben. He did a great job. Amen. He got really stretched out there in his Spanish, but he made it happen. Amen. There goes Reverend. He was in his element, he was just imparting, challenging the people. This is Pastor Bismarck and his wife, amazing couple. He's a pastor in Las Tunas. He's written he's a musician as well, just precious. This is Pastor Maria Luisa, her husband, Oscar, who's a veterinarian. Pastor Harold and his wife. Pastor Enrique and his wife Mercedes. We really got them. The only thing we didn't get them was a room. I didn't take attendance that night. I don't know if anything happened, but if we did a good job, they were blessed. So I was just amazingly blessed. Now check this out. So I'm walking down the aisle, after this, and I says, come on, besitos, besitos, give me some. They needed a room. And then look at this, look. So I'm moving in. I said, besitos, besitos. You got to express your love, right? So they're just loving on each other there. That's Pastor Ariel with his wife. Look at this guy. This Milton, look, and he's peeking at me, What are you looking at? Look at this guy. He's a, come on, honey. Hello. Oh! Here I am. This is Pastor Jimmy and his wife, Yanette. Amazing people. He's really the overseer of the group of pastors that, I think there's really 35 churches that he's overseeing. They're planting churches in all of the areas that are very, he committed to planting churches in places where they're needed. It's easy to plant a church where, things are pretty good, but he likes going into the hot corners of his city. And so, they left there loving on each other. This is one of the things that they did, one of the exercises that they blindfolded the lady, right? And then she had to tie a knot. And it was an exercise on communication, so she's blinded and all they had was to talk to try to, figure out how to tie a tie, That was hysterical. And so this is Pastor Manuel. He won. But he didn't even say a word because she knew how to tie a tie. So everybody was upset at him. But all of these came in, first, second, and third. There were prizes for them. And again, that we just, they got that look. And so our Cuban mission team became connoisseurs of, what do you call that? There's a word for people. There's a word for people who do coffee. What? Baristas, right? Yeah, that word. And so, and it seemed like everybody was really doing good. Naomi, where are you? And of course, look at the pinky. So, yep. I don't know who this guy is. He's Alex, part of the team. And of course, yours truly. Enjoy the coffee. This is a moment, and I don't have a lot of pictures of it. And if you notice, you don't see a lot of pictures of me neither, because I was the one taking the pictures, and there were others, so everybody was taking pictures of each other. But there's a lot more pictures, and it's amazing how we wanted to do it very lovingly and discreetly, and so we invited couples to go in there. We prepared a room, and we put everything on sizes. It's amazing. The Spanish ministry was in charge to get all woman stuff. You know what I mean by that, right? All the undergarments and everything like that, and they put it all out there in sizes, and the men's, and it's amazing. So we had them all go in there. They all picked some clothing that they needed, and they left, and then they packed up, and I'm going, I was really troubled, because I says, wait a minute, we still got we had to repack because there was 4 more bags left over. So God had a way of I can't help but feel that there was some bread and fishes multiplying somehow in there, and God just kind of divinely just kept meeting the need. There's a bunch of testimonies behind that as well, and sometimes Benny was sharing on Wednesday that he didn't even, there was this guy who needed shoes, but we don't know, and he never even seen these, but it turned out, oh wait, this is your size. So went to get him, and really was a blessing to them. This is another church we were at. You see the awning. This is again another church that we're helping out. We want to eliminate that back garage so that we can build a second floor, and they'll have a huge place for worship there. This is Pastor Alex and Juliet's church. So there's a lot I can tell you about the history of this and how God intervened. It's just awesome what God is doing there. This is in Las Tunas. This is Deacon Jose from the Spanish church sharing. They had a great time over there. Yeah. Yeah. Right now, you see that there's a little awning that goes just to keep the heat from them, because the heat was like, you talk about a heat wave over there, man. You figure in October, but it was hot. It was brutally hot. So interesting thing is that he already had plans. He got some permits done, and we felt led of the Lord to give him an offering, and it was just above what he needed to get that extension put out in the awning in that whole entire backyard. So that's awesome as well. Pastor Orlando was ministering there and just loving on them. And then this church here, we remember when we went there on March, right? There was no second. It was fenced in, but there was no third floor. Pastor Carlos and his wife, which she gave birth to Caleb that very day when we were there, right? Remember, we arrived, and I think the next day she gave birth to Caleb, and God sovereignly, that was something God did for them. But we helped look to build this church up on the third floor. And so we invested in that. This is how it looks in the inside. And since then, again, we just left about 2 weeks ago. Carlos sends me these pictures. They got the cement, because special finishing cement is at a premium over there, and it's hard to get. So here they are, they get it, and they already started, working the walls, because that's the rough finish you can see on the right-hand side. But now they already started working on the scene, and they wanted to send pictures. You see that? It's already started to get done. And they're going to be able to fit at least 100 or more people up there. And just so that you know, he also oversees cell groups. Was it 3,600 cell groups? You got that right. The number's right. 3,000, right? Throughout the island. And so very engaged, and that's why they, again, when you guys brought cell phones that they're using now. They go in there, they reprogram it, they put a new SIM card, and they're on the go, and that's how they stay connected. That's their Bible app. That's how they move out there. So it's exciting to see all of that. Now this church, we went there. This is in March. We went there, and already some other churches had sown to expand that. So that's their courtyard, and they're looking to enclose the courtyard. This is Pastor Olga and Elazar, yeah, Elazar, something like that. So she is very passionate. Now this church is right in the heart of the city, and it's a hot zone for drugs and stuff like that. And she's became a little hub for all the girls and the young kids to come, and they get ministered to there, And so she just brings them in, prays for them, gives them encouragement, and it's just beautiful to see. So she's got a huge youth following there. And so, we went there, we sowed to this as well, and this is what they did. Now, today, when we went, this picture was back in March, this picture is in October. Now, we left enough money to put a roof over that thing, so we're investing in that as well. Now, that's going to be their fellowship, away from the heat of the sun, right? These are some of the girls that she ministered to. It was great. This young girl here, really, I heard remember the video on last time, she just prayed, she asked for prayer for her dad, so he can sell brooms. Because he's able to make brooms, and that's how he keeps his livelihood, and he fishes and he sells fish, But she also asked to pray that he stop drinking. You know, so you know, it's just a beautiful. Which is the kid that whose mother? So the same girl, her mother, I guess, stressed by life and all that, she tried to set herself on fire, and she witnessed that, and so she didn't die, thank God, to our knowledge, but she's gone through at her age. You know, she's gone through a whole lot, but isn't that what God called the church to be, right? So we figure after we had the event, we were there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, right? So, and then Sunday we went to Las Tunas. We split our group up. Orlando went to one church, I went to another church, and we got to minister to them. But we figure on Monday was our last day there, so we wanted to take all of the pastors to the beach. You know, so we rented a vehicle to take everybody there. And they went in, check this out, in Cuba, no beach belongs to no companies. So we went to a resort place. I mean, this resort place was like, what? And we went to their beach, and they can't stop us to go to the beach. And so I said, I'm ready to grease some palms or something, you know, you gonna let us go in here or something, you know, but no, we went there, and then Benny sees the coconut, you know, and he never had any. So one of the musicians found out about it, and they went, who was it that witnessed how they did so Alice goes in there, so he thinks that the guy's going to take a machete and go like they used to do in the old days. This guy broke out a drill and stuck it out there and you know. So we all enjoyed it, yes. Everybody was taking a sip, you know. That's Jalissa. These are some of the musicians and it's beautiful. The beaches there have shades. They have palm trees. They have, so you could, you know, because they don't like the sun. Me and Benny, we were like me and Benny and Orlando, we're the only ones that went to the beach in the water. So clear you can be this deep and still see your feet. Huh?
We had a briefing meeting.
Oh yeah, we had a debriefing meeting. I got hit by a wave. I couldn't get up. I felt like, anyway, that's another story. This is Jose Hernandez's twin brother in Cuba. Jose Antonio, amazing guy. Of course, this is the team. I put this picture up here because we went there to minister to them, but in so many ways they ministered to us. This was Orlando and Jen receiving a word from Julio Campos. And I got the video, I caught some of it, so I got to share it with you. But amazing. This is Jimmy's kids, Pedro, Deborah, and Anna. Yeah. And so we went there, like I told you, back in January of 2012. And this was with Willie Santiago, and this was he took us to the farm. Remember, this was our first experience when we went to the farm and we slept there for the first night. And we says, we need to rent a room somewhere else. Remember? I mean, we were not accustomed. It's a farm, so a lot. When I talk about, I can handle 50, I can handle 100 flies. But when you're talking about thousands of them, that looks like a mural on the wall, yeah, that's my limit. I said, yeah, no, we'll rent a place, you know. And so my staff, my team, was in full agreement with us. But so we went there, but they had this thing. That can hold about 300 or so people. So that's where we had service, and we had just an amazing time there, and we were ministering to pastors as well, and just looking at that time, we were just spying out the land to see what God was doing. That's what it looked like from outside. That young guy that you see there with the beard, his name is Joel Taylor. He just passed away 2 weeks ago. Went home to be with the Lord. Raised in Vietnam by missionary parents. Grew up educated, amazing professor. Taught in seminary, but he had a passion for Cuba. But he went home to be with the Lord. So that place was amazing. This is what that place looks like now. It can hold now 1,000 people. Yeah. In that same farm, right? This is the house we went to with all those flies. Invasion of the flies. That was our first, just in case, look, see, that'd be me. You see Orlando just behind the pole there? That's Orlando. You know, that was the first house. When we went there, I went there and I just shared some vision, some of the things that, you know, he could consider, you know, because it's out of the way, out of the main city, you can do a lot more there than you could do in the city and get away with. So we made some recommendations. We also invested in this work. That's what it looks like now. That whole top floor, now that whole top floor can bunk a lot of missionary workers. And the awesome thing is that you don't see flies there no more. Windows got screens, you know. And they also now, on that property, they're putting in a greenhouses, yes. And they have, while they're working the farm, it generates income. They're growing all kinds of stuff. They're growing coffee. They sell it. The church makes money, and that's what sustained. That's how they plant churches. They help pastors, you know. And this, they have like, I think he told me like 5 families that are working the farm right now. So very, very fruitful. See that? So, on our way out of Cuba, we still ain't out of Cuba, and guess who get called out? Our very own Jose Hernandez. And they had to put a screen on him and x-ray his body because he looked suspicious. And our beloved Jennifer too. And no, she looks like a star. Why would they want to look at her? But anyway, she's looking at, yeah. So we boarded the plane. We touched down, and the grace of God, I love America. First thing we did was we had lunch right in an American place, and the bill was like $300. But we went there, and again, I'm so grateful for all of you that invested in this, which leaves me 15, less than that, to kind of share with you. Fundamentally, when we sang that song, Here Am I, this is what we're called to be, the reflection of God. Amen. No matter where we go. And one of the things that I could not help but feel was, how awesome God is in that He's able to go into the darkest places and bring hope. Now, we're able to do that there, but we're also doing that here. We believe that every time we record, every time we film, every time we share testimonies, but you know what, more importantly than even that, I mean, my prayer is that you're only seeing what we're doing in Cuba, but that's taking place right here on your everyday life. And sometimes, when I confess to you, sometimes what I see over there, I get overwhelmed. But it's amazing that because they don't have much, they don't have much, but they have more faith than people who have more. Seems like the more people have, the less faith they need. Can't see the correlation in this. But it's amazing how they can believe God, and it's amazing what God is doing. But I wanted to serve something to you today. I want you to be aware that God says you are the salt of the earth. You know, we get excited because of what God is doing there, but God is doing some stuff here. Every one of you, God, you know, are you telling God, here am I? And I'm telling you, look at, there's something crazy happening in our world. I don't even know how to pronounce his name, the rapper, Kanye West. Just knew about God, never surrendered. I mean, surrendered his life, I think, a month and a half ago. And he just so compelled to want to love God and do what he does. And some religious people are getting upset. Who is he to have a concert? He's just praying about Jesus. You know, recently, I believe 2 days ago, he had a concert. 2,000 people came to Jesus. Is he rough around the edges? Yeah. But I don't have a problem with just keep preaching Jesus and Jesus keep working on you. See, a lot of us think we got to get all this straight before God can use us. God can use you now. Now. If you wait till you're perfect, you'll be 97 and a half. I don't know if that's prophetic. Because I know that I'm still a work in progress. And oftentimes, we know, for me, sometimes, you don't know how uncomfortable I felt sometimes. I knew what God called me to do there in Cuba, but how uncomfortable and how ill-equipped I am to try to meet all of their needs. But you know what? I'm going to give them what I got. I'm going to share what God showed me. I'm going to share how God kept me in my most downtime, my most stressful storm. You are supposed to be that. I want to read one scripture verse to you. And it's found in the message of Jesus is the Beatitudes. He says in chapter 5, verse 13, he says, you are the salt of the earth. You are the salt. The salt. Isn't it interesting that Jesus correlated salt to reflect something we ought to be doing? What does salt do? Okay, he says you are the salt of the earth and the light. You are the salt and the light. Turn to someone and says, I am the salt and the light. God called you to be the salt and the light. The salt. I looked into that word. The salt has seasoning. How many, listen. I remember one time, I think this, if memory served me, one time my wife forgot to put the salt in something she cooked. I forget what it was. But I said, babe, something happened in here. So she said, what are you talking about? Ooh, I forgot to put the salt. I mean, there's some people that can eat fine without salt. But I need me some flavor. Throw in there some adobo, you gotta give me some flavor. I remember as a kid, my uncle took me to this Chinese restaurant in Manhattan, and I didn't know what to order. So I ordered what I was accustomed to seeing, white rice. You ever had white Chinese rice? The devil is a liar. I was biting into some cardboard, man. I said, ¿Qué es esto, señor? It was horrible. But God says that it's a season. What is God saying? You're supposed to be the season. People should look into your life and there's something about you that's, you know what? That tastes good. That looks right. And it adds to them. Your quality, how you carry yourself, how you conduct yourself. is the season, your holiness, your ability to have self-control. People need that. People need to see you in the midst of chaos and see the peace of God over your life. Sometimes people, I remember I was going through some things and people, how can you stay so cool? Because I know God will bring me through this thing. Then they look at their problem and say, Dag, if you go through that and you're okay, I'm drowning in what I'm doing right now. Be the salt. But salt has another element. Salt preserves. Right. So we're preserving. What are we preserving? We're preserving in humanity the values and character of God. We're helping the world see that through our everyday life. What we did in Cuba, we do here every day. It's just over there, it seems like it's magnified because everybody needs it. Over here, people need it, but they don't even realize it. Did you hear me? They don't even realize. Salt heals. Do you know that? Salt heals. So salt, God's called, if we're the salt, we bring healing, comfort to lives. Because stuff happens in life. But there's hope. There's hope. Sometimes we think that we make mistakes in our lives, and then we think that it's over. It ain't over till God says it's over. God has a plan and a purpose for you. Oh, so things didn't quite work out the way you want? Well, don't worry about that. God can turn that mess around and so bless you that you don't miss what you lost. You embrace what you got. I live that every day. So here, God is telling us all these things. You talk about this healing virtue. Salt has a tendency of melting hardness. It right? When it snows and we're ready, I got my salt ready. I got my, So that's who you are. But all God needs you to do, listen, God has called you to be the salt and the light because He wants us, the church believers, to influence the world so that the world can get a little glimpse of heaven through you, so they can get a little glimpse of hope through you. Please bring the communion elements. Almost forgot to do that. Today is first Sunday, man.